In the annals of history, some missions are remembered not for their success, but for their spectacular failure. One operation in particular stands out as America's most infamous misstep. A mission so ambitious, so meticulously planned, yet so catastrophically doomed. From the very beginning, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The world watched in disbelief as dreams of triumph crumbled into chaos. Today, we take you behind the scenes of this colossal failure. How did it unfold? Who were the key players? And most importantly, what lessons were left in the ashes of defeat? Buckle up, because this is a story of ambition, risk, and the kind of failure that echoes through history. Every great failure begins with great ambition. The mission we are about to explore was conceived during a time of intense political tension, a period when the stakes were higher than ever. The United States, eager to assert its influence abroad and prevent the spread of opposing ideologies, devised a plan that promised a swift and decisive victory. At its core, the operation aimed to strike deep into hostile territory, neutralize key targets, and reshape the political landscape in favor of American interests. The planners were meticulous. Every route, every strategy, and every contingency was studied, debated, and approved by the highest-ranking officials. They believed that precision, timing, and superior resources would guarantee success. From the outside, it seemed like an operation destined to succeed. Elite forces were recruited, specialized equipment was prepared, and intelligence reports were scrutinized. Yet beneath this veneer of confidence, cracks were already forming. Political pressures, overconfidence, and underestimation of the adversary would soon conspire against the mission. Local support, crucial for the plan's success, was uncertain. Communication lines were fragile, and the chain of command was overcomplicated. Despite the brilliance of some strategists, no plan, no matter how detailed, could account for the unpredictability of human error, the chaos of the battlefield, or the relentless forces of fate. As the operation approached its launch date, the tension among the planners grew. Meetings stretched into the night, debates became heated, and doubts were quietly whispered behind closed doors. Yet the mission went forward, driven by ambition, fear of political repercussions, and the belief that failure was not an option. In hindsight, the seeds of disaster had already been sown, hidden behind carefully drawn maps, charts, and projections. The day of the mission arrived, cloaked in anticipation and anxiety. Every participant knew the stakes, every commander hoped for perfection, and yet, uncertainty hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. The operation began under the cover of darkness, elite forces moving silently, vehicles and aircraft gliding through the night with precision. At first, it seemed that the meticulous planning was paying off. The team reached initial checkpoints with astonishing speed, communication flowed smoothly, and the early signs were promising. But perfection is often an illusion. Within hours, unforeseen challenges began to surface. Equipment malfunctioned at critical moments. Navigation errors, minor at first, quickly escalated into dangerous deviations. Local intelligence had been incomplete, and unexpected enemy positions created bottlenecks and confusion. Coordination between multiple teams faltered as tension mounted. Each step forward was met with new obstacles, and the mission's carefully constructed timeline began to crumble. As the operation progressed, human error compounded the technical failures. A single misstep, a misunderstood order, a delayed action, each ripple magnified across the battlefield. The forces, highly trained but unprepared for the cascading chaos, struggled to adapt. Meanwhile, the enemy, alert and opportunistic, exploited every weakness. Communications broke down entirely in some units, leaving teams isolated and vulnerable. The grand vision of rapid success transformed into a desperate struggle for survival. By midday, what had started as a daring and confident strike had devolved into chaos. Plans were abandoned on the fly, improvisation replaced strategy, and retreat became the only viable option. Losses mounted, objectives remained unfulfilled, and the mission that promised to reshape history instead etched its place in infamy. The world would later see news reports of the failed operation, images of abandoned equipment, and the human toll etched into faces. Historians would call it a disaster waiting to happen, a textbook case of how even the most sophisticated planning can falter against unpredictable realities. And yet, beneath the failure, lessons emerged. Lessons about hubris, planning, intelligence, and the fragile line between triumph and catastrophe. When a mission of such magnitude fails, the question inevitably arises: why? In the case of America's most infamous operation, the causes of failure were as complex as they were devastating. First, overconfidence played a crucial role. Planners believed that superior technology, training, and intelligence could override any obstacle. This hubris blinded them to the very real risks inherent in executing an operation deep in hostile territory. Second, miscalculations in intelligence were catastrophic. Reports about local support, enemy positions, and terrain were incomplete, outdated, or entirely misleading. The planners assumed compliance where there was resistance and underestimated the readiness and adaptability of their adversaries. Even a minor error in reading a map or assessing enemy strength quickly spiraled into disastrous consequences. Third, operational complexity compounded the problem. Multiple teams had to coordinate over long distances, relying on fragile communication lines. Any delay, miscommunication, or mechanical failure created cascading chaos. What should have been a seamless chain of actions became a tangle of confusion, hesitation, and missed opportunities. Human error, unavoidable in any high-pressure scenario, magnified every flaw in the plan. The consequences were immediate and severe. Lives were lost, equipment destroyed, and objectives left unfulfilled. Politically, the fallout was significant. Credibility was damaged, both domestically and internationally. Leaders faced criticism, and the mission became a cautionary tale for future strategists. Socially and psychologically, the operation left scars on participants and observers alike. The weight of failure lingered long after the smoke cleared. Yet, beyond the immediate disaster, lessons emerged. Strategic overreach, overconfidence, reliance on flawed intelligence, and underestimation of human unpredictability became central themes in military studies. Analysts would study this mission for decades, dissecting each misstep, seeking patterns to prevent repetition. The story of this failure reminds us that even the most powerful nation, with the most advanced technology, is not immune to the consequences of miscalculation. The echoes of this operation resonate in history, serving both as a warning and as a profound insight into the fragile nature of ambition and human endeavor. Beyond the visible chaos and immediate consequences, this mission harbored secrets and controversies that history only slowly unveiled. For years, classified documents and whistleblower accounts hinted at discrepancies between what the public was told and what actually transpired. High-ranking officials had exaggerated the chances of success, downplayed risks, and at times misled allies and subordinates. The very notion that failure was impossible became a dangerous myth, perpetuated in briefings and internal memos. Some insiders spoke of critical equipment deliberately withheld, flawed intelligence reports ignored, and political agendas influencing strategic decisions. Questions arose. Were certain warnings suppressed to maintain the illusion of control? Did internal rivalries contribute to miscommunication and mismanagement? These controversies painted a picture of an operation not just undone by circumstances, but entangled in human ambition, pride, and deception. Perhaps most striking were the untold personal stories. Soldiers on the ground faced confusion, contradictory orders, and a relentless enemy, while planners far away watched events unfold through incomplete reports. Families of those involved often never learned the full truth, as official narratives sanitized or omitted key events. Even decades later, historians and analysts continue to debate who bears the ultimate responsibility and whether lessons were fully absorbed. This layer of secrecy and controversy adds a haunting dimension to the story. It reminds us that history is rarely as simple as it appears. Beneath the headlines, the military reports, and public statements, there exists a hidden world of decisions, compromises, and mistakes. The echoes of this operation continue to reverberate, challenging our understanding of accountability, transparency, and the high cost of ambition. As the dust settled and history etched its judgment, one undeniable truth remained. This mission, despite all its ambition and preparation, failed in a spectacular way. Yet failure is never the end. It is a mirror reflecting human ambition, error, and resilience. The planners, the soldiers, and even the nation itself learned lessons that no textbook could fully teach. What happened here serves as a reminder that even the most powerful tools, meticulous planning, and technological superiority cannot predict every variable. Human judgment, chance, and unforeseen circumstances can turn triumph into catastrophe within hours. The mission may have failed, but its story resonates through time, inspiring reflection, analysis, and even admiration for the bravery of those involved. As we close this chapter, the question lingers. Could it have been avoided? Was it hubris, miscalculation, or fate that led to this infamous outcome? History may never give a definitive answer. But one thing is clear. The echoes of this mission continue to teach, warn, and fascinate. And perhaps that is its true legacy. Not the failure itself, but the enduring lessons it leaves behind for all who dare to dream, plan, and act on the world stage.